Look, I know I started last video with a heat-related joke, but this time I mean it. It was 44 degrees at noon, and there are so many albums that released this month. So, genuinely, this goes off right now. I'm on a watch to make sure that this video ends within the next 30 minutes, otherwise I'm probably gonna melt. You've been a faithful servant, you're glad. It's time I turn you off. Lord help me. Let's go to the releases, cause oh boy, there were a lot of them, weren't they? Yeah, I started this month with Diaspora Problems by Soul Glow. What an amazing album. Genuinely, this is now under music I want to absolutely kick everything in my room to. After that, I listened to Unlimited Love by Red Hot Chili Peppers, which was better than I expected, I'll be honest. It's not great, it's good. And sure, Flea, Frusciante, both carry it. Kiedis kinda selling it, but who cares? I'm just happy John Frusciante is back in Red Hot Chili Peppers. Next, I listened to the Gangsta Grillz Dreamville crossover. I didn't really click with it as much as a lot of other people did. Though Stick goes extremely hard, mainly because Jid and Sheck Wes are such amazing force when they collide together. Please just, I want more Sheck Wes and Jid. Like, that's all I'm asking for. Next, I listened to The Unraveling of Pup the Band by Pup. It's great pop punk, made me laugh multiple times, and totally fine is great as a song. I really like it. Next is Ramona Park Broke My Heart by Vince Staples. It's good. It's good. What else can I say? It's Vince Staples. It's good. It's like all of his other albums except Big Fish, which is great. It's good. After that, I listened to Fear of the Dawn by Jack White. I'm really happy he's continuing down the whole boarding house reach part of his discography, because yeah, that's obviously my favorite album of his. And wait, I'm sorry, what? Listen further, you say. Oh my god, track 6 has a Miku pedal in. Yeah, instant 10 out of 10. Greatest album of all time. What else do you want me to say? Jack White's a genius. Life is a genius. Heck, Genius is a genius. And the guy who gave him that Miku pedal is probably the greatest person of all time. He might as well be the second coming of God, because a Miku pedal made it onto a commercial rock album. Next, I listened to Aethiopis by Billy Woods. Again, he's great. He's done it again. He's one of the most consistent rappers in the game, and he continues to provide great experimental and abstract hip-hop. Then I listened to this. I like 5 Year Foreign, but what in the world is this? What is this? After that, I listened to Chloe and the Next 20th Century by Father John Misty. This was a good, classy throwback. I love some of the Frank Sinatra vibes on this. I know some people weren't vibing with it as much, but I was. I really love throwback aesthetics, especially when they're done this well. Next, I listened to American Girl by Kylo Kush. And honestly, remove the title track, this is the album of the year. And generally, it's only that title track, because everything else on this is amazingly good. Like that Amma Mark album, but synth pop. It's insanely good. The next I listened to was The Long Defeat by Deathspell Omega. Obviously, this is a pretty legendary French metal band. And yeah, it was good. It was pretty good. But I don't really know about this one, Chief. Next, I listened to Wet Leg self-titled. It's some pretty okay indie rock. I like this. I didn't love it. Probably will forget about it in a few months, but I like this. Next, I listened to An Hour Before It's Dark by Marillion. It's cool, but there's not really much else to it. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about this when it comes to later dates. But I definitely will pencil a re-listen for this album, because I think it deserves it. After that, I listened to The Line is a Curve by K Tempest. They've done really well on this album. It's good. And honestly, if I'm putting it on the UK rap tier list, it's like a solid... I don't know, where do you want me to put it? Like, in this whole tier list... And all over the place, but better? No, but all over the place is... I think I'm gonna have to reevaluate this entire list. After that, I listened to It's Almost Dry by Pusha T. He's done it again. Of course he's done it again. It's Pusha T doing what he does best, coke rap, and it's great. Of course it's great. Diet Coke's one of the best songs of the year. I don't think that's debatable. It's just so good. Just listen to it if you haven't. After that, I listened to Skinny Fire by Fontaines DC. I didn't know what to expect with this one, and I'm surprised I checked this out, and I'm happy I checked this out, because this is some really good post-punk out of Ireland. Highly recommend this. It's what from I've heard, people consider this their best work, but definitely this is a band I will check out. After that, I listened to Omnium Gatherum by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and honestly, I think this is their best album. Purely because it meshes everything they've done well into this nice, digestible mix of perfect jam rock and thrash and punk and art rock and art pop, and everything they've done is just so good. I want more of it. And it feels like they have no strings attached, because they were just like, we're in the studio, we may never be in the studio, all of us, once again, so let's just bang out the best album we can. And my god, did they bang out the best album they could, because this was amazing. Next, I listened to Everything Was Beautiful by Spiritualized. Some really nice production. The songwriting could have been better, but honestly, with production this good, I couldn't really care. And then finally, I listened to this Future album that dropped literally yesterday when I'm recording this. And honestly, it's exactly what I expected. That's not really a bad thing. It's Future. Like, he's obviously very consistent in terms of the most trap landscape. He's a very consistent rapper in how good he is. And yeah, this is exactly what I thought it would be. And I don't hate it. Let's move on to the underrated section of the month. We start this time's underrated section with one of my albums of the year, I-85 Mix 2021-22 by Material Girl. Such a cool abstract project. It's so good. I highly recommend it. This is one of the best albums of the year. After that, I listened to Warm Chris, Aldous Harding. Nice, cute album. I definitely have banged this on whilst trying to upload or whilst trying to edit, because it's sort of ambient pop is what I'd best describe it as. But honestly, it can be anything you want it to be. After that, I listened to Sun Soaking by Lobster Fight. It is a really cool punk project. I particularly liked the 9-minute track on it, which is really good. It's definitely gone to my 2022 Songs of the Year playlist. After that, I listened to Vitamins and Apprehension by Della Zir. It's a really uncomplicated, great work, and there's nothing really much else to it. Next is Tortuga with Sadness, and never before and never again what I call a black gaze project. Sprawling and beautiful. Yet this is definitely black gaze. Like, it's not shoegaze. It's definitely got the metal leanings of black gaze, and it's definitely got the noise of black gaze. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful in many ways, and it's sprawling, and it's filled with life, and it's so good. I'd highly recommend it if you like the metal side of shoegaze. After that, I listened to Giving the World Away by Hatchie. This is something people are talking about quite a bit. You can definitely see her influences heavily. Obviously, the Carly Rae Jepsen on it is super notable. Plus, you can definitely hear some of the shoegaze and dream pop that influences her very RYM core, which is probably why I like it. It's done pretty well here. And finally, I listened to Shunka Ryujin by Haru Nomuri, which is a great blend of, I need to repeat this, J-rock, art pop, art rock, and J-pop. That doesn't make sense on paper, but somehow it all comes together in this really full expression of a rock album. I would highly recommend this as well. Now let's move on to the classics of the month that I got to. I honestly don't know what I was feeling this month, because now I'm looking at this list and I'm like, what was I thinking? There are so many weird choices for me in this. But so I started with Heaven or Las Vegas by the Cocteau Twins. Like, I've never listened to the Cocteau Twins, and I recently chanced upon Fantano's classic review, plus Hivemind was talking about Rascal, listening to the Cocteau Twins, and I'm like, sure, let's bang this on. Yeah, it's amazing. It's transcending. It's ethereal. Those are the words that come to mind when I think of this album. It's so beautiful. You can definitely see dream pop in this. After that, I continued the Elliott Smith deep dive. That yes, I'm going to listen to an Elliott Smith album each month. And I listened to EXO this month. And I know the opinion is Either Or is better. But this is my favorite Elliott Smith album. Purely because I know the reason that people don't like this as much as Either Or is because the mixes on Either Or are much more lo-fi than this, and this is more clean. But I like the clean. I like that he somehow managed to keep the wonder of his lo-fi production, but not really gone fully mainstream with it. It sounds so more half full than half empty, if you get what I'm saying with that. Next, I listened to Thought for Food by The Books. What an experience! It's a really cool album. The recordings are really cool. And I like the field recordings being incorporated into pieces. That's always something I liked. Which doesn't explain why I didn't like Since I Left You by the Avalanches. This is a classic. I know, I'm not going to be the one to say that this album is overrated. Particularly because I think Frontier Psychiatrist is one of the best songs I've heard in the past year. And I didn't click with this. I don't know why. I genuinely don't, because this seems like my kind of album. I like The Books. I like Frontier Psychiatrist. I like a lot of other Plunderphonics projects, particularly one of my friends. But I don't know why this didn't click. I'll be honest. And this is the first time in my classics that I've not clicked with an album that I've chosen. After that, I listened to Devotion by Beach House, which is really good. But honestly, I know why this is not valued as much as the other albums I'm going to go into when I go into Beach House. Because it's obviously not as lush, it's not as full, it's not as me wanting to go on my whole buffet, just grabbing all the parts of the Dream Pop production that I want and just being like, yes, this is all for me. Like, that wasn't really there. And honestly, what you get in this is a really good indie pop album more than a really good Dream Pop album. After that, I listened to Black Star by David Bowie. Me being a massive Bowie fan, believe it or not, this album I've never listened to it in full. And honestly, that 3-track run that starts the album from Black Star to Dissipati to Lazarus is one of my favorite 3-track runs in his entire career. It's so amazing. It's genuinely impressive that he was able to conceive of this album in such a harsh time for him to be living. And yeah, I highly recommend. I'd give this like a strong 9. If there are a few things I'd mix about this album that would truly turn it into a 10 out of 10, but honestly, I don't care when it's this good. And finally, my pick for my listen of the month. Sure, this may have been because I was just having so much fun during this time, but I listened to Funhouse by the Stooges. And honestly, this is one of my favorite listens I've ever had. Because I listened to Down on the Street, and all I was doing was just imagining Iggy Pop singing it. And it's so good. Like, this entire album is just filled with pop, punk, bangers. It's just filled with this punk rock that I love. And Iggy Pop is great. The instrumental is great. It's just so filled with everything that I love about punk music. And I'm so happy that this album exists. Do the outro. Wait. Let's go. Let me just count it all. I'm done. I can finally go ahead and do this. I guess thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.